We're very lucky to be joined tonight by someone who will be in the room when President Trump gives that extraordinary speech tonight, Arizona Congressman Eli Crane. Congressman, good to have you on the show, sir.
Hey, John, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
We love having you on. We honor your service, all the things you've done for your country. I want to start with the news. I want to get to the speech, but first, your take on where Zelensky is today versus yesterday versus the day before. What do you think is going to happen with him?
Well, John, you can call it the art of the deal, or you can call it peace through strength. The bottom line is, I think, American leaders are so used to being pushed around that Zelensky himself, thought he could come in and do the same thing to President Trump. And I think he got, a little dose of tough love and reality. And the president, told him, point blank, you're not holding the cards here. We've been keeping you afloat for a very long time, with, quite frankly, money that we don't have. And that gravy train is about to end. We're trying to push for peace between this war with Ukraine and Russia, and we're also trying to get recoup some of our investment with this mineral deal. And so I actually, wish it wouldn't have gone that way. But I think, Zelensky has been, making statements, saying that he was going to make the deal, and then he came to the Oval Office and thought that he was going to debate with the president what the terms were going to be and try to draw the president into a position that the president, quite frankly, never agreed to. And I think he made a huge mistake. I think he made a huge mistake by not showing the president, the vice president, or this country any gratitude for a country that's given him over $350 billion. And so, now that Zelensky has, I think, come to his senses and realized without the United States, he's dead in the water. I think he's kind of come to his senses, and I think that's a good thing for the United States, and I think it's a good thing for the world as well.
Congressman, not even 2 months into his first term, President Trump has a lot of accomplishments I know he's going to talk about tonight, and not the least of which is, upwards of $1.7 trillion worth of foreign investment, which benefits Arizona, as discussed yesterday at the White House, 5 new facilities for manufacturing chips there in Arizona. Maybe President Trump does have a good business sense about him, and maybe Americans will figure that out, even if they didn't vote for him?
Absolutely, guys. The president, because he's a businessman and because he did it at such high levels, he understands something that most Washington electeds don't understand, and that's leverage. You're seeing it with tariffs. You're seeing it at the border, and being able to get, Mexico to send 10,000 troops up to our southern border. You're seeing it across the board, and that's one thing I love about the president. Not only does he think outside the box, he's willing to answer, thousands of questions from reporters, but he does understand leverage, and everybody around the world is on notice, and they understand it too.
Yeah. You mentioned peace through strength. I think there's an economy through strength too, and I think that's one of the things he's done over the last few days is just getting, whether it's Honda moving to Indiana instead of Mexico, or the $1.7 trillion in new business deals that have come in from places like Japan and Taiwan and other locations. What are some of the most important things Americans are going to want to hear from the president tonight when you're in that room?
I think one of the big things that they're going to want to hear about is what he's done in just 6 weeks at the border, John. This was, when you look at his first campaign and his second campaign, this is a big through line. He talked about the border. He talked about the havoc that illegal immigrants were causing in the United States. And Americans, even some Democrats, started to see, the fallout of the Biden policies, and they wanted that border secured. So I think you're going to see that. I think he's going to tout his amazing economic agenda. You guys were talking about it a second ago, $1.7 trillion already in investment. He's slashing regulations that is unleashing American energy once again. I mean, the DOGE stuff, I think that's some of the most important things that Americans have seen in a very long time from the executive branch. And just his, how he told us that he was going to rid the government of fraud, waste, and abuse. And when you think about what Elon and these guys are doing, they're going into these agencies and they're shining a light for the American people to see where their tax monies are being spent, how ridiculous some of the programs are that, that we continue to fund. And then, we're going to decide what to do with them. But at the end of the day, he has, a ton of things, amazing things to talk about tonight at the State of the Union. I think it's going to be great. And I think what they've done in 6 weeks has been nothing short of amazing.
Yeah.
Congressman, I want to stay on immigration for a moment because there were a lot of Democrat state and local leaders across this country who indicated that they were going to #resist President Trump and his immigration efforts. But on any given day, the number of illegal border crossings has been reduced 92 to 97%. And it is no doubt benefiting border states like Arizona. Your Democrat governor, Katie Hobbs, has kind of waffled back and forth. First, she said she was going to resist. Then it seemed like she may be a little amenable to working with the Trump administration on immigration. How is it working out in Arizona right now?
Well, we're seeing some of the same things that the statistics you guys are talking about reflect. Give Governor Hobbs some time. She'll probably come around like Gavin Newsom and Eric Adams and several others have. The president seems to have, a way of influencing people. And I think he does it, with the bully pulpit, but I also think he does it with results. And, his plan is all common sense. The American people know it. I think, they're tired of seeing their country destroyed. They're tired of seeing the fraud, waste, and abuse, out of the federal government. And they're tired of being put last all the time. And that's why I think President Trump's America First agenda really resonates, across the board.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work ahead for Congress. One of those is it looks like it's going to be a two-step CR process again, a temporary spending bill to just keep the government open, and then somewhere between $2 trillion and $10 trillion in 10-year cuts, given the gap between the Senate and the House bill. Tell us where you are in that process. Would you support a CR? Will other colleagues support a temporary CR if they stick to those $2 to $10 trillion range, or do you want to see something different done?
Well, we'll see, John. I've never voted for a CR. I'm not a big fan of CRs for the obvious reason. You're just continuing to spend at the same levels of Biden and Pelosi. I think there's a lot of danger to that. But I am going with a group of conservatives to the White House tomorrow to talk to President Trump about what his plans are and, to see what we can help him deliver.
That's important.
Yeah. Well, and President Trump has indicated that he supports a plan through September. When it comes to the alternative, though, I know you've never supported a CR, and I understand for good reason. But on the other side of that, it's a tough fight as well.
No, it's always a tough fight. I wish that Congress, had as much common sense as the president does. It's very difficult. We've been governing this country by CR and omnibus for the last several decades. And, a lot of our representatives, unfortunately, are allergic to cutting any spending whatsoever, even if they see, what DOJ is doing and the outrage of the American people when they find out where their tax dollars are being spent. But, we'll see what happens. But I do put a lot of faith and trust in the president. And we had a special meeting last night with one of his top budget guys who did let us in on some of, generally some of their plans moving forward. And it was optimistic.
Yeah, that's exciting. You've done so much on the border to educate folks. There's a big hearing tomorrow where mayors of these sanctuary cities, including one who's flipped around, Eric Adams, will be testifying. You have a lot of ideas for improving the frontline men and women's job, including biometrics to get to the bottom of some of these illegal aliens. Tell us some of the tools that you hope Congress will give our border forces in the next few weeks.
Well, I think, it's one of the things that I see bipartisan, not completely bipartisan support, but especially with Republicans in the House and the Senate, as far as funding what Tom Homan, Mr. Banks, the chief of, Border Patrol, and those folks say that they need to actually secure the border, whether it's beds, whether it's hiring new officers, whether it's technologies, finishing the wall, et cetera, and all the deportations that have to come along with it. So this is something that I think Republicans, are pretty united around, giving the president the resources that he needs to carry out this operation that he promised the American people he would, and he's already showing great results with.
Before we let you go, Congressman, I'm hearing reports that Democrats plan to make a little bit of noise, including with noise makers, on Capitol Hill tonight when President Trump delivers that speech. Do you think that will happen? Obviously, Nancy Pelosi won't be behind him to rip up the speech, but will there be disruptions?
Nothing would surprise me. I've seen a lot of shenanigans on the House floor, but at the end of the day, Amanda, you said it, it's just noise. They don't control the executive branch. They don't control the Senate. They don't control the House. And so other than using activist judges to try and stop this administration, and everything that they're doing, that's about all they can do.
That's right.
we'd be remiss not mentioning that today Congress created a task force to look at that issue. You were the first to strike a warning sign on that and to get action going. Congratulations for getting that through today, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me.
We love the work you do, sir. You get results. All right, so folks.